Good morning, Ohio. James Ernest of the Grueling Truth Radio Network here with Chuck Foreman of the Minnesota Vikings. Chuck, thank you for joining us.
Hey, man, it's a pleasure to be here with you this morning today.
So, what teams did you watch growing up?
Oh, I'm from a place called Frederick, Maryland, right between Baltimore and Washington. So obviously, it was first of all, it was the Baltimore Colts because and then the Washington Redskins. I was lucky to have two teams that I was interested in when I was growing up.
That is awesome. And the way I understand it, you were really into basketball, or at least watching basketball.
Yeah, basketball was my game. And I had more scholarships to play basketball than I did football, but I chose football. I thought it was I enjoyed it. So it all worked out good for me.
So you played basketball, you played football. What other sports did you play growing up?
Track, definitely, all that stuff. Whatever was in season is what we did. It's not like nowadays where most kids are dialed into one sport, which is unfortunate because I think when you play them all, it develops you completely as an athlete, and you can always bring something from one sport into the other, and it makes you a little better. That's just my philosophy anyway. But now, even with my boys, even though I really want, made sure that they played them all. There was still, for the most part, kids that just dialed into one sport.
I was going to say, that was the awesome thing, how you took from basketball the spin move and incorporated that into football.
Yeah, it certainly did. And that just happened at the spur of the moment, too. So all those things that I think you can bring a lot from each sport. So fortunately for me, I grew up in a time when that's what you did. Whichever season was in, that was the sport you played.
You mentioned about choosing football over basketball. What inspired you to do that?
Well, being a 6'3" forward, I was really good. I probably could have played at the next level, but I don't know. I think the football thing, the physical part of it, the challenges of it, I think attracted me more. I think, basketball-wise, I was really good at it too, but there's something about the football game that, when it was time for me to make that decision, that's the path I chose. Speaking
of decisions, why did you choose Miami?
Oh, man, that's a whole new story. You got to remember this. Number one, when I got to the University of Miami, there was only one other black player there. That was a guy by the name of Ray Bellamy. We were just coming out of, 5 years prior to that, we just got the right to vote, to be quite honest with you. I chose Miami. I could have went to pretty much any place I wanted. I chose on the eastern seashore anyway. But I chose Miami. It wasn't the first choice, of course, and my parents certainly did not want me to go south to play sports or go to football at that time. To be quite honest with you, I recruited myself in Miami. I wrote him a letter. I watched him play, and this guy by the name of C.T. Hughley came to watch a guy that I was playing against in Maryland.
Uh-huh.
And when we were done playing the game, he came over and started recruiting me, and then I got a visit to Miami. Got down there, and it was nothing like I thought it was going to be, because Miami's a fairly international town. Certainly has issues and stuff like that. However, on campus, it was like people from everywhere there, and the football program first, like I said, we were just starting to integrate it. It was this guy named Ray Bellamy, and there's Tom Sullivan, and me, and a guy by the name of Burgess Owens, and You know, and to be quite honest with you, each one of us, you know, Ray would have probably been the top player chosen in the draft had he not been in a car accident. Tom Sullivan, of course, went to play for several years, many years with the Philadelphia Eagles. Burgess and I came on number one draft choices. Actually, we were the MVPs in every All-Star game we played in.
Nice.
So we kind of set the precedent down there at the University of Miami way before Ray Lewis and all those other guys got there. You know, we kind of started it all.
So basically, you were the originals for the U. Yes.
We are the originals, and then Reuben Carter came, and then then the floodgates opened, and you know, the University of Miami was never the same. It just excelled and gotten better and better, and you know, they were able to recruit local guys. And believe me, if you've never seen football play, you go to South Florida, period, you can go there and you can watch some great football on Friday nights.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, they got some top-notch athletes down there.
Yeah, definitely.
So the nice thing about you as a professional, or not a professional, as a college football player, is how versatile you were. The way I understand it, you started playing defensive back?
Well, I got there when I was being recruited. I was being recruited as a tight end defensive tackle. And then, you know, I don't know what I told you, but in the state of Maryland, I was the state champion in the high and low hurdles. And then, you know, when I got to Miami, of course, I just thought they probably didn't know as much about me and what where I come from, there's a lot of great athletes. Some you never heard of, but a lot that I competed against that I got that competitive spirit from. But you know, when I went to University of Miami, you know, I went there to play football. It didn't even matter where they put me. I just know when I call home and I talk to them, they moving me here, they moving me there. My dad said, "Okay, good, go be the best at it."
Exactly.
You know, that was it, and that's what I went and that's what I did. When I was a cornerback, I tried to be the best. I was the best cornerback I could be. Wide receiver, you know, the same. Running back, the same. And the thing about that, though, is when you go down to the University of Miami and you check out the guys, what they look at is the stats. But when I played there at the University of Miami, myself and Burgess Owens, too, Burgess Owens was a running back coming out of Tallahassee. They moved in the corner, and it was like you came to play football. And so, you know, when you look at the University of Miami stat sheet, you might not see us in the top 10, but I can guarantee you one thing, and this is the truth: there ain't never been none better at either one of the positions we played.
Exactly.
And I believe that wholeheartedly, and I've seen it. And you know, and so that's the difference. You know, when we played, you went and you played football. You know, nowadays it's hard to find a guy that plays multiple positions. I mean, not saying they're not out there, but it's far and few between.
Very true. Yeah, I was going to say, other than, what was it? Julius Peppers was one of the last ones, I think.
Right. Julius Peppers, you know, Dion, you know, of course, he was baseball, you know, you had Bo Jackson, baseball, football. There's a few guys out there that excel.
But it's definitely not commonplace, anymore.
But it's not commonplace at all, especially even from when Dion and Bo played, you know, it's even more to the point where, you know, players they play one sport, one position, that's it. Mm-hmm. And, you know, they get drafted. That's all they know. They know how to play running back, and that's it. So I think when you're versatile and you learn the game of football and you play several different positions, I firmly believe it makes you, you know, better at anything that you play. It's like playing basketball and playing football. I watch the University of Miami or any offensive lineman. You know, when you get an offensive lineman to play basketball in high school,
exactly,
you're gonna have a guy that number one's gonna be able to move his feet, and gonna be able to do things you need to do to excel at that position. You know, and that's where a lot of my brother tells me anyway. A lot of coaches that recruit offensive linemen, back at time, they see, and even they're far and few between, but they're still out there. Those guys that played basketball in high school and football, and I don't know, makes them better.
I agree with you. Yeah, it just gives them a whole new skill set to be able to incorporate into the game. So tell me about your partner in the Gold Dust Twins.
Oh, that's Tom Sullivan. Because, we lost Sully a few years ago in a car accident in Florida. But I don't know how that name came about, but our aggressor we were scoring touchdowns for the most part. And, I was a sophomore, Sully was a junior, and that was, I don't know what was what was his name? I think Luther Evans. I think at the time he was a writer for the Miami Herald. I think he was the one that came up with that name. I'm thinking. It's just hard, I don't remember quite who, but one day he wrote over, we like the Golden Twins, what the heck is that? So anyway, that's how it came about. Because they had both Tom Sullivan and I in the same backfield, and we were pretty productive at the time.
Now, the way I understand it, that you never got to play in a bowl game when you were in college.
Oh, we never played in a bowl game, no. But as I told you before, every game Burgess and I played in, All-Star game, we were the MVPs. In fact, when I got to the All-Star games, and don't take this out of context as which is meant, because I certainly don't mean to slight anybody. But when we walked on the field and I'm like, and we were practice and stuff like that, and I'm like, and all these All-Americans are out there and everything like that. I mean, big names and things. And I'm sitting there saying to myself, they can't play with me.
Exactly.
Yeah. But it's all about the PR, the school you go to, and I've seen, I'm not even going to say it, but that PR can make you an All-American.
Oh, definitely, it helps. Yeah.
There's a lot of paper All-Americans out there, believe me, and I'm sitting there and I've played against a lot of them, and I'm like, man, if I would have went to Texas, I would have been all everything.
Exactly.
Or, you got that big machine behind you. You look at all the Heisman Trophy winners that play really great college football, and they can't play at the next level. And that's because you got that big PR machine behind them, and they were probably good players, but nothing great.
I know what you mean. It's the reason why a lot of the same schools tend to win it year after year, where it's the school winning it more so than the player winning the award.
Yeah, there you go. So that's how it goes, and I guess that's the way it'll always be. But I just remember going into these All-Star games and seeing these guys. They were all first team, all American, first, all this and all that. I'm like, wait a minute here, something wrong with this picture. And that's when I knew right then that, I knew that I could, I knew I was in the right place, so let's put it that way.
And the way I understand it, it was during one of those All-Star games that you worked on your technique for carrying the ball, and it really made an impact on your career.
Yeah, I certainly did. I'm going to tell you a story. One that I always think about. Who Lou Holtz is, right? Yes. So we're at the All-Star game, and Lou Holtz was the head coach on our team. And he's, and I'm excited to play for the guy. And, the first thing he would say, he said to me, "Oh, you're the guy from Miami that fumbles all the time." I'm like, what the hell was that?
Yeah, that's some bull.
Yeah, that was some bull crap is what it was.
Yeah,
and I'm sitting there, and I'm thinking, I go back to my room, and I'm like, man, I couldn't even quite understand that. I'm excited to meet this guy. That's the first thing he's saying to me. And so I'm saying, okay. So what it did was, I got to practice. I made sure. Yeah. But, after that, this coach I had at another All-Star game, his name was, but that was the kind of impact he had on me.
Definitely.
It wasn't that good. But anyway, Then I went to another All-Star game. I think we were at the Senior Bowl. I think it was. And we had Weeb Eubank. He was the coach at New York Jets, coach Joe Namath and all those guys and everything. And he had me in the backfield, and because everybody asked, well, where do you want to play? You want to play corner? You want to play wide receiver? You want to play running back? And I'm like, I want to play running back. Because every coach, see, the thing about me when I came out, what people don't know, you see, I had a choice of what position I was going to play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Every All-Star game I went to, well, you want to play corner, you want to do, that's what, and when I got even drafted by the Vikings, they even asked me where I wanted to play. So there was just not a one-position guy. I mean, I can't play football.
Exactly.
But anyway, I'm down in this All-Star game, and Coach Weeb Eubank, he was the coach of New York Jets. And I was going to play running back there in that All-Star game. He says, well, come here, I want to show you something. I'm going to show you what I see, what you need to do if you're going to be running this football for me. He says, I'm going to give it to you a lot, and I don't want you dropping it. And he just showed me a little simple thing about the tip of the football, where I put my fingers and how I hold the football. Things like, not that the University of Miami or people, my coaches weren't showing me that, but I was moving around so much, my hands were flying everywhere. I was kicking the ball out of my hand, my feet were going, I'm telling you. And so, but little things like that, just that little time that Coach Eubank took with me to show me what I needed to do. Well, that's what, and, it was one of the great football lessons I had because it was simple.
Nice. And then obviously made a huge impact on your career, then going to Minnesota, which were you ever apprehensive about going to Minnesota? Do you ever have any concern about the weather? Or
Well, okay, let's look at it this way. I'm at the University of Miami, Florida. Beaches, palm trees, sunshine, everything you want. Campus with this great scenery. Yeah, if you know what I mean. And then I get the call and say, hi, we just drafted you, because, it wasn't like it was nowadays where they had the, you had the big thing, and everybody's in New York and all that. Heck, when they drafted me, I had some friends that came down to Miami. I was living down in a place called Perrine, Florida, and they came down and, hung out for a little bit, and then the draft was coming, and we were kind of, listening to it. I don't know how it went, but then they called me. I got a phone call, and that was it. The Vikings called me and told me, hey, we're going to have you a plane ticket. And, of course, that was in January, right? And it was cold.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And I would go from Miami to Minnesota, and I'm like, what the heck is this? And, I'm from Maryland. Of course, it gets cold, but Minnesota's a little bit different.
Oh, definitely.
A little bit different, but it all worked out, and got there, and, it was a great bunch of guys, and, it was, I think it was, anybody had it was a great experience.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the most successful runs in football history. I mean, you had so many years in a row of going to the Super Bowl. I mean, you can't ask for much more.
It was a very mature team when I got here. A lot of the guys that I played with, the nucleus of the team anyway, they were already in the league 10 years when I got here. For the most part. Most of those guys were already in. Some guys in there, back in those days, there was no free agency. There was none of that. Bud Grant was the kind of guy that if you came and you played, you gave him everything you had, and you were productive. He was a pretty strict guy, but you did all those things. He'd keep you around for the most part, anyway. A lot of those guys, anyway. But with free agency, coaching's different now. You could, back in those days, a coach knew what he had coming in, and if you made the team, you were, pretty lucky, to make a team, especially for the top tier players. You might have a lot of movement on the second, third team or something like that, but if you came in and you were a starter and you were productive and you did what you had to do, they kept you around because Bud Grant loved experience, and rookies rarely played, and I'm fortunate, to come in here and play and start as a rookie.
I think you did just a little bit more than play as a rookie. I mean, heck, you were Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, well, it was like I said, it was a unique, special experience. Can you imagine getting into a huddle? Now you got to remember when these guys are winning the Super Bowl. I was in like a senior in high school, I think. And I think Alan Page was the MVP of the league, first defensive player of the year. But anyway, I'm in high school when these guys are playing in the Super Bowl, right? And then a few years later, I'm in the huddle with the same people. I'm like, Jesus, I can't even believe. I looked around and I said, wow, look who I'm in here with, Fran Target and all these other guys, John Gilliam and just some great Ed White, Ryan Yeary, all these guys. I'm like, wow, look at this. And now, in the first play that I ever was in, I was so in awe of those guys. They were calling plays. I was like, I missed the play.
Oh,
I couldn't believe I was a daydreamer. I'm like, damn, I'm really in the NFL. So that was, it was a great experience for me. A lot of great people I played with.
How important to your success was it running the West Coast offense?
Well, no, wait a minute. Let me clarify something with you right now.
Uh-huh.
Okay, let me clarify something with you. You see, it was called the purple offense.
Oh, okay.
Your generation calls it the West Coast offense because they took our offense and, that's our offense. It's called the purple offense, which pretty much said Chuck Foreman was going to be in the slot. Chuck Foreman was going to be a receiver. Chuck Foreman was going to be everywhere. That's what the purple offense is now. The San Francisco's version of it is different. But that offense is my offense. Just so you know, I set the record straight.
Exactly. Yeah, because not just San Francisco.
No. San Francisco had nothing to do with that. That's a Jerry Burns creation.
Nice.
Not a Bill Walsh creation. They took it to another level, of course. They had some great players, Roger Craig and Jerry Rice and Joe Montana. They had a great offensive group, and they were able to play and perform and do it well. But that offense, that's my offense.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
So, of your many Super Bowl appearances, which one meant the most to you?
Well, all of them meant a lot, and all of them hurt a lot. The last one will probably hurt the most because a couple of them, I just thought, there's only one team that I thought that was just really better than us, and that was the Miami Dolphins. Simply because I watched them all the time. I went to their practices. I knew some of the guys out there. And watched them practice, watched their talent every Sunday, go to the games. But also knew, and then the other teams, Pittsburgh and Oakland, I thought they were really good teams. Don't misunderstand me, but we could have beat those guys. And then, we had some plays down going into the end zone, and it turns around, and you scored a touchdown. It's a different game. Pittsburgh, they beat us by, a hair. It was just, but that last one was like, you lose one, you lose two, and then you just know you're going to win the third one. That didn't happen either. And the team got older, and after that, and really was never the same.
Definitely. I was going to say, over the years, all the different teams that you've watched, how would you feel the comparison to the Bills, or who would you feel comparing your team to?
Well, when you talking about going to Super Bowls and losing, there's only one other team. That's the Buffalo Bills. They lost and went to more and lost more. Well, they went to the same and late. We all lost, but they lost, the Super Bowls, and they had some great teams, some great players, and it just like happens like that sometimes. I don't know why it is in these big games, and I don't know, but you know what? I always tell people, oh, you lost 3 Super Bowls. And you say, yeah, tell me somebody that's been in one.
Exactly. Oh, I know what you mean.
Yeah. Tell me somebody who's been in one as you know.
Exactly.
How many guys in the NFL that play in the NFL that don't get close to being in the Super Bowl? I played in 3. Mm-hmm. And not only played in 3, and the game and what you had to do to get there. It just don't happen. You got to be a very fine football team to get to that game. And so, the guys lose and they say, oh, they lost the Super Bowl. Yeah, they lost the Super Bowl, but guess what?
You made it there.
There were 30 other teams watching them play.
Exactly, yeah.
And like you look at New England, and I played in New England for 1 year. New England wasn't the organization as it is now when I played there. They had some good players, but certainly not the organization as it is now. When I'm sure Cleveland, thinks about Bill Belichick all the time. They had him right in their hand, and they let him go. But he goes to New England. He gets a great owner. They come together with a plan, and they get and you got to have a great quarterback in that plan. And they ended up stumbling into one great one, and there you go, 20 years of greatness.
Definitely. Now, in baseball, I've heard the term Triple Crown, but in football, just the ideal, it always would seem too outrageous that someone could be leading the league in touchdowns, running, and receiving. But yet, you were up for the Triple Crown in the NFC.
Right. I lost it by 6 measly yards. And the only reason I lost is because we were playing the Buffalo Bills. And I got hit in the eye with a snowball. And that was like in the third quarter or something. Anyway, I didn't get back in the game. I should have went back in the game, but I didn't. But anyway, make a long story short, that's one part of my career nobody ever talks about. I'm surprised you knew it. Not surprised you knew it, but not many people know that. I just lost the Triple Crown, the running, receiving, and rushing title by measly 6 yards.
Exactly, yeah, because it was that game. It was you on one side and OJ on the other.
On the other, right. There you go. And that's the way it went.
Yeah, 2 great running backs. That must have been a phenomenal game to be at.
Well, I thought for the fans' standpoint, it probably was.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. It was cold, as usual. But, yeah, that was a great experience, no doubt about it.
You mentioned about getting traded from to New England. Obviously, a different franchise back then. But what was it like? Being traded, because obviously trading teams was a lot different back then.
Yeah. Okay, I'll just put it this way to you. I was disappointed like that, no question about it. As a running back, as a player, the one thing, the NFL means not for long.
Exactly.
You know that, right? You got a window.
Yep.
Most guys, if you're lucky, you last 2.5 years. If you get in anything above that and beyond that, you've done a great job. Some guys play longer. Some guys, depends on the position you play. Things like how the team uses you, and because it's just like pretty much you're a commodity. You're just like you get a car. Mm-hmm. You drive your car. You either get tired of it, or it runs down, and then you got to get a new one. And you might not want to get that new car, but in order to do what you got to do, you got to get a new car. And, you trade your other one off. And what's left, somebody else hopefully fix the flat and get you back going. And maybe you can get another year or 2 out of it. And so that's that's the NFL for you. The only thing about the NFL that's better now is like if you do your job and you get in that league, and even if you just stayed in there 3 years, and you get out, you should have a nice little piece of money put away. I'm not saying you got to go to work for sure, no doubt about that, but I'm saying at least you'll have, you've qualified for your pension. You got those things coming down the road. They got annuities. They got all those things in place for these players now. You know what I mean? And so when you, if you get there and you put that 3 years in, you got those things waiting for you, and then you make. Hey, I don't know I think the minimum salary is what, $750 now?
Yep, sounds about right.
I don't know, man, but shoot, if you can't save, if you can't put yourself $1 million away out from that, then whatever. But I'm just saying, at least you'll have a foundation and some money in the bank, and you can get on with a good, solid life.
Definitely. Obviously, having a great career like you did, you had probably wonderful experiences and had great advice for your son Jay going into the NFL. Obviously, you didn't have someone that could tell you, about the recruiting process. What was that like? How'd you help him to choose Nebraska?
Well, he chose Nebraska and something. Now, my older brother played football too at the University of Cincinnati.
Oh, nice.
And I had a friend of mine named Gordon Smith, who was one of the best players I ever played in UC, they call it. In fact, I almost went to Cincinnati myself because of those guys, But my brother was a great example, for sure. Francis, but he and Gordy and those guys, they paved the way. In fact, those guys were the first guys coming out of my hometown that got scholarships to, big white schools.
Oh, that is phenomenal. The University of Cincinnati, shoot, I cover them. Yeah.
UC, you go check it out. Francis Foreman, Butch Foreman, he's the offensive lineman there. Rick Roberson, all those guys, Gordon Smith, Don Ogletree. I can just go on down the line, all these football players. When I was out there being recruited, I saw some, and all those guys are the number one draft choice for the most part. Great basketball players and football players. Lloyd Tate, I go on down the line. I remember all those guys because they recruited me.
Oh, nice.
And when I go out there, my brother, watch him play. And that's how I got to know those guys. So, yeah, I was almost a Bearcat.
Oh, wow. Yeah, small world. Yeah, I was going to say, they're doing phenomenal now with Luke Fickell. I mean, it has been a pleasure to watch these last couple of years.
Well, good. Because my brother's a proud Bearcat, and he sent me a picture the other day of their new weight room and facilities over there. So, they definitely a top program, no question about it.
Excellent. And we were talking about your son and about how he played. Now, besides playing in the NFL, which is a huge accomplishment, possibly an even bigger accomplishment, I understand he's got a degree from Harvard?
Yeah, he got a degree from business degree from Harvard. So Jay's doing well for him. And I have a younger son, Anthony. Mm-hmm. He played at a school up now. I thought he could play D1, but he wanted to go play at this school called St. Thomas up here in Minnesota, and he was an All-American there. And academically, he achieved a lot over there. And he was an heck of an athlete too. Both of them chose different paths, but they all doing well.
Oh, definitely. I was going to say, obviously you're proud of both of your sons.
Well, I got two girls too now.
Oh, wow.
Can't forget those. Yeah, Andrea and Tiana. They're all, they're good too. So I'm very blessed with some good kids.
So it sounds like a nice big family, and sounds like things are going well.
Grandkids, great kids, all that.
Awesome. Any chance there'll be a third generation in the NFL someday?
Well, I don't know. We got two grandsons and two granddaughters, and looks like to me, I don't know, but I know I see the girls. They're pretty. The boys are still a little young, trying to find. They're still young, but the girls, I think, they could be special.
Nice. And speaking about the
excuse me?
Oh, I was going to say, speaking about the next generation, I understand you really take shining to the next generation by teaching.
Well, I do substitute teaching. I haven't been out, obviously, this year. I'm not going to do it because of the COVID and I'm just not. I got a serious protocol that I keep for me and my family, and I don't derive from it, so I won't be going out socializing, doing anything like that. And fortunately, I'm in a position where I can do it, but I'm not in any hurry to get out there. But school and being a part of that, I've had some principals that I've worked with and been able to go there and sub. And I enjoy the young people, and thank God they coming, because by God, they got a lot of work to clean up. So I've had a lot of enjoyment being a sub teacher, and the kids and the diversity of the program of the schools, and where it was when I started teaching, where it is now. It's just a lot of good positives that I've experienced as an educator.
Definitely. I mean, that must be, so rewarding. For a while there, I was substitute teaching when I graduated college, because I got my degree in teaching, phys ed, but have moved on to other things, and unfortunately I do miss it, but, schedule conflicts and all, you know how that is.
Right. And then, one thing, and they were talking about the school system, that, stop cutting the budgets.
Exactly.
And give these kids what they need. That's all I'm going to say about that. But, you got teachers. Man, I know some teachers that go in their pocket, make sure they got the supplies they need so they can do what they got to do for their kids. That should never be.
Definitely. Well, we've enjoyed having you on our show, but before we let you go, we want to talk about your show. We want to talk about Spin It.
Oh, well, Spin It is like, it's history now. I mean, I used to do that a long time ago.
Oh, you don't still do it?
Not, but I do radio with a guy by the name of Jim Rich and a guy by the name of Bob Sansevier. Jim Rich is a local Fox Sports, how do I put it? He's the, sportscaster over there, and then Bob Sansevier, of course, has been on radio up here and writes for the St. Paul, I think, for one of the papers. Mm-hmm. He's been around a long time, and so we have a show that we do. It's called the BS Show every on Thursdays, and it's an enjoyable show. So.
Oh, that sounds awesome. And then, where else on social media, where on the web can our listeners find out more about you?
Well, man, the only thing I know didn't go. I'm not on. I don't do a lot of it.
Uh-huh.
But I have started here this year. But we've got a little thing called See a Star going now, and that's an app you can download, and the people can go out there, and any of your favorite former players with the Vikings are on there. And you can dial in there, and you can have a virtual chat with them about anything. All you have to do is go on, download the app, go in. And we talk about a lot of stuff, especially football related. We don't get into any crazy stuff, but but I think for today's time, I've had some great response from it, and we've had some enjoyable conversations with a lot of fans. We could discuss everything, even on Sundays. We're on the, you go on the app and we're there live, and we'll discuss the game while the game's going on, halftime, after game, before game. It's a lot of fun. So they can dial into that See a Star And of course, I got Facebook, Twitter, I got all that. So, but like I said, I'm not really good at it.
That's okay.
I'm getting there.
Definitely. It just takes time. And Chuck, it has been a pleasure. We've enjoyed having you on the show today.
All right, thank you very much, man. It's been a pleasure. And next time, well, I live in Minnesota, so whenever I'm going to Maryland, that's where I'm from, I'm always blowing through Ohio. And when I say blow through, I mean I'm going pretty, I enjoy the drive. So, but I always usually stop in down. And
oh, definitely.
I drop. Yeah, it's so I'm down through there at least 2 or 3 times a year. Coming across country, but I haven't been doing much. But I don't like to fly, so I do the drive.
Definitely.
So, but anyway, Ohio's one of my favorite places to try not to get a ticket in, because you know how they like to give you tickets in Ohio.
Oh, they love to do that.
They love to give you tickets. I got about 5 or 6 in the state of Ohio, but it was all, But anyway.
Yeah,
they were good guys, though. At least they weren't jerks.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, thank you for joining us today.
All right. Thank you very much, my friend.
My